adding two verses to the Quran happened relatively after a few years after the Prophet's death, and therefore the corruption of Islam happened only a few years after the Prophet's death. I'd say about 38 years. These two verses were added during the reign of the Khalifa Uthman, the third Khalifa. And the addition of the two verses resulted in the assassination of Uthman, the installation of Ali as the fourth Khalifa, the assassination of Ali, and 50 years of war that ended up with the massacre of the Prophet's family, except for the women and the children. All this resulted from the two verses. And from that time on until today, the Muslims were no longer Muslims. The Muslims in Egypt or Iran or Turkey or Pakistan or India are not following the Quran. There is not a single mosque in the Muslim world, so-called Muslim world, that upholds the commandment in Surah 72, verse 18, that says the mosque belongs to God, do not mention other names with God. Therefore, those people did not deserve the Quran. And this went on for the last 1400 years. Now there are people who uphold the Quran, the whole Quran, nothing but the Quran, and there are mosques sprouting now where only the name of God is commemorated in the adhan, in the prayer. And these people deserve the true Quran. And as I can tell you right now, that the storm that is going to rise up because of the printing of this new Quran will be by people who do not practice or uphold the Quran. But the people who uphold the Quran, who hold nothing but the Quran, the people who worship God alone, will be very happy with this new printing. And these are the people who deserve the true Quran. So the Quran never had falsehood in it. The true believers had the true Quran, and the false believers had a false Quran. You can do anything. We have Qurans here that are printed wrong, and things are added to it, and the surahs rearranged, but this does not negate the fact that God protected every single letter in the Quran. We have every single letter. We didn't lose a single letter. So God's promise is fulfilled, that He has perfectly preserved the Quran. Now we go back to Kathy, unless you have any questions.
Okay, and God mentioned too that only the believers are able to touch the Quran. When He says that, people.
In the last year or so, we're all aware of a lot of information that came to us, and it was very exciting. It explained so many things in the Quran. And I can remember with sorrow a few people that came in, maybe even traveling from distant places, but because they argued, some people from Europe even, they just argued and they were anxious to voice opinions and so on, and they missed the whole thing. And I felt sorry for that. It's inefficiency in receiving the information that all of us, God wants us to know. So this is information God is graciously sending it to all of us, and we're all sharing in it. So we just have to comply with certain etiquettes in order to benefit from this information. So unfortunately, this is the people who need this the most are not here. Okay. But this is why we're studying the Quran, so we can understand the wisdom, appreciate the wisdom of the Quran. So let us finish this program first. This is continuously happening.
It's a question of me taking control of myself.
Exactly. Exactly. You can give up the control to your companion.
Yeah, that was the thing too.
Yes. Or you can take control of yourself. The morning prayer comes, and you want to do the morning prayer, but your companion wants you to sleep. So, see, choose who's the boss. And the companion will always be in favor of sleeping. Always. It's a fight to put your body out of bed and do the prayer. Both of you lose when you sleep. And that's why God tells us on the Day of Judgment, both, for the disbelievers, they will fight with their companions. You made me sleep. No, you're the one who didn't want to get up. On the other hand, for the believers, the companion will be very thankful. Say, thank you because you talked me into worshiping God alone. Because what you do is you convert Satan's ally into a believer. Your companion. Because we do convert our companions into believers. Your companion eventually will cooperate with you and will wake you up in the morning to pray. Because he or she will want to pray. We're coming to Surah 72 and we will see that. Afami.
Azar is asking the question, I can ask you. Oh.
She wanted to mention her name because Azar has 3 million questions. And she doesn't want to ask them all, so distributes them to her friends. Go ahead, Azar. It's okay. I know you have 3 million questions.
Yes, it's good. Good question is good always.
What did you say? You don't have any questions?
No.
You'll be a witness, man.
Not now, maybe.
Okay, not right now. Afami, what was the question?
The question is if someone has a bad habit of, whatever, and then you say, well, so-and-so has that bad habit or poor habit or whatever, would that again be?
That's backbiting.
That's backbiting. So you gave me the answer.
You let the people find out for themselves, Yeah. She always pulls on her left ear, for example. Let them find out. You don't have to scandal. That's a scandal. Whatever the bad habit is. Back to Kathy, and now we're Muslims now. But really the first step, it's not the end, it's the beginning. After that there's a lot of growth and a lot of cleansing and a lot of polishing and a lot of testing until we come out like a gem. But don't worry, you're all great. Alhamdulillah, you're the luckiest people on earth. There's no question about it. All the signs are glaring and profound. Alhamdulillah.
Strengthen us is to make us aware. They are really grace from God. I know one of my sisters said she welcomes God's test, but God knows I wouldn't say that. Oh, no.
We don't want to do it. We don't want to do with that. We want to pass from the first test. Right.
But I know they're for our own good.
Before I forget, Kathy, let me go to the last verse again, 13 and 14. A Muslim in English means submitter, okay? It means one who does not argue with God. A Muslim is one who says, okay, I'm going to accept this book. And then he or she will read the Quran, and certain things will not make sense to them. Now they can either submit and say, okay, accept this, or they can argue again with God. So, what do you mean my life is recorded from birth to death? This doesn't make sense to me. Okay, this is the person who's arguing. He's not even a submitter yet. So at first we come into Islam and we say we're going to accept everything that God says. Then when something is in there that doesn't make sense to me, or I'm unable to understand it this time, I will accept it. I will not argue with God. Say, oh, okay, my life is recorded from birth to death. Say, I submitted, I accepted that, even though before I decided to become a Muslim, I wouldn't accept, it will not make sense to me. So this is what a submitter is, but I still have doubt. My life is recorded from birth to death. You mean 1995 is already recorded? Everything that I will do is already recorded on a videotape. So I still have these doubts. Now, how to attain certainty? I want you to look with me because this is very important. On page 177, the last verse in Surah 15 tells us exactly how we reach that certainty where there is no doubt whatsoever. It says, worship your Lord so that certainty will come to you. If you don't believe me, ask John. I'm going to explain, John. It's okay, be patient. Worship your Lord so that certainty will come to you. So you come to the decision, I'm going to submit to God, I'm going to accept this book and everything in it. Well, this means you're going to worship God. You're going to do the 5 prayers a day. Because through this practice, through worshiping God, God will show you that He controls the universe, that He runs the world, and that you better stay with Him. You miss a prayer, because you look at the 5 prayers now, you miss a prayer and get a ticket. I mean, within or immediately. Or you miss a prayer and you get a pinch. You want to elaborate, John? Take over. Worship your Lord so that you attain certainty.
Somebody wants to brainwash you and they can do something regularly. So you worship your Lord regularly and pray regularly, you brainwash yourself to do right thing.
Right.
When I got here, my brain needed washing. One of the things that I'm curious about, though, a couple of ayats prior to that, it says, we will also send on retribution upon the dividers who accept the Quran only partially.
Yes.
Am I to understand that as meaning that until I'm at the point where I fully submit
Right.
and believe everything,
Yes.
then essentially I'm still destined for hell?
That's the beginning.
But it is a beginning.
Then you made the first step. Yeah, that's the first step.
That's the first step.
But there is a mechanism, see? The mechanism is here, in this very short verse, 99 of Surah 15. Worship your Lord so that certainty will come to you. And I'm telling you, when you reach certainty, watch out. You're going to see miracles every day. There's in Surah 2, God says, we do manifest miracles for those who have attained certainty. When you reach the point of certainty, where it doesn't make any difference in the world what happens, you've reached that certainty. So if you see anything, it will not increase or decrease your faith in God. Then God does show you the miracles. So the mechanism, you fast the month of Ramadan, and you see the rewards immediately. You break the fasting in one day, and you get a pinch immediately. Then after you say, hey, wow, God runs the world. How did He know that I missed the noon prayer? For example. I mean, you will come to the realization that you are an important person, that you're not hiding in the crowd from God. You mean God will pay attention to me? Yes, He will. So the worshiping God will...
When you were saying those verses, that's Gatut's lipstick. Look at the numbers at the bottom, please.
Gatut uses lipstick? Let's see about that. It's also red, folks.
When you were saying the socks for the believers, look at this, the chopstick at the bottom.
1938.
You told me so short.
1938. Huh? Let's talk about the lipstick.
And this ayah you thought 99 and 15 is 114.
Surah 15, and the importance, Parivajas pointed out, the importance of this verse is reflected in the fact that the Surah 15 verse 99, which is 114, we know now that every verse is placed in a particular place with a particular number according to a divine system, a very elaborate system. Worship your Lord in order to attain certainty. So this is the way. If you do not worship God, if you do not do the 5 prayers a day, you do not fast the month of Ramadan, muhtasham, if you do not pray 5 times a day, and if you don't fast the month of Ramadan, and if you do not give the zakat, I think we're getting lax again with our zakat. Maybe I am. I don't know about you. But there's a verse in the Quran that says, my mercy encompasses all things. I will restrict it for those who are righteous and give the zakat. 2.5% every time you receive money. Net income. You must give away. So these are the things that we must do to attain certainty. It's a very effective, a sure way of attaining certainty. Yeah.
Can you think of the car, even though you should do it every paycheck and stuff, if somebody needs something in a lump sum at a single time?
You have to give the zakat on the day of harvest, the day you receive money. You plan your zakat in advance, because you know when you're going to get your money. You already arrange in your mind who's going to get your zakat and how you're going to do it. This is just like in the 5 prayers. You say, I'm going to pray the afternoon at 3 o'clock. You do the same thing with the zakat.
Can you take the zakat out and like set it aside?
You must give the zakat on the day of harvest. The day you receive your money, you take out 2.5%, no matter how small, and give it to the person that is designated for it. This is the Quran says, Surah 6, verse 141 says, give the zakat on the day of harvest. So, if you want to do something else, I don't want to be blamed for it. I'm going to tell you only what the Quran is saying. Babak.
Didn't the IRS take something out already?
Yes. That's why I said net income, Babak. Your net income. So you remove the IRS's.
Rashad, there was when we first talked about this, you said that for some of us it might be $1.50 or $2.50, and that's not really going to help someone. So we could wait for 2 weeks or 3 weeks and make it be $10, which would be more helpful.
Well, if you want to comply with the Quran perfectly, which is I know you want to do, I would do it in advance then. So I would not be lax. In other words, if you take income and put it in your pocket and you don't have the zakat out, apparently it's a gross crime. So I would say if you want to save up 4 times, for example,
right.
2.5 would be $10, and I would give away $10. It's so small,
right.
We shouldn't bicker over it. In other words.
Well, the reason I asked is when you first told me
I'm not saying you're bickering, but I'm just saying.
You yourself said, $2 isn't going to help a family that needs 30% needs food.
Right.
And you said maybe you should say, and you're not changing that. You're saying you should do that, but plan
I would do it in
advance.
Plan
it ahead of time.
I don't think $20 would crimp your budget too much, so I would give it in advance just to be careful. If you want to give more, but remember the 2.5% is a minimum. Martha? Right. But 2.5, because 2.5% is a minimum. 0 is below the minimum. So if you want to volunteer and give more, if you're going to give 50%, that's fine. That's your prerogative. Depends on how much you're making. If you're making $1 million, you give away 50%, it will not affect you. But if you make $10, it will affect you to give 50%. So 2.5% is the minimum. And this is where I'm coming from. Besides, you're the one who said that. You want to give a big amount. You don't want to give a small amount. So that's your problem. You created the problem. I'm saying if you want to give in advance, if you want to give a big lump sum, that's fine. Just the 2.5% is a minimum.
Yeah. I just want to know how it was allocated when you guys.
Yeah, the Quran is very clear. I'm going to just repeat what the Quran says. Kathy, you want to finish? You'll have 2 minutes.
Okay. All I'm going to say that we as a believer, we should support each other, be good to one another. We're supposed to treat each other nicely. And by us being here, we are not doing anybody a favor. The only reason we are here is from the grace of God. So, alhamdulillah, He is the Lord of all secrets in the heaven and the earth. And He is our teacher and our guide. I was handed this piece of paper to read. It's about Jim Bishop. And I don't like what he's saying is the truth. I don't like it. And if someone else wants to read it, I don't.
Where did you get that?
This is something that we read it in our meeting. It's very interesting. It's talking about proving God, but it's very interesting. We enjoyed it, and I wanted to share it with you. It's from Reader's Digest. But
Yeah, it just says that there is lots of science in the
Kind of
world
God. That's right.
about God, and it doesn't make sense that you say there is no God.
No, it doesn't say there is no God.
I said it doesn't make sense to say there is no God. Yes. But the Quran is, you don't need anything with the Quran. It's beautiful, I like it. Okay, thanks Kathy, good job, by golly.
No, it's not. I'd like to say I really was unprepared, and
Wow.
I prayed to God.
Distorted but documented, and you can see in the classic, some of the oldest books, Ali refused to leave his house. So they went to him and they said, what happened? Why are you staying home? We don't see you. He said, I vowed that I will not put on my street clothes except for the prayer until the Quran is restored. Or he said specifically, something has been added to the Quran. So I think I have the translation here. Yes. Ali was asked, why are you staying home? He said, something has been added to the Quran, and I have pledged never to put on my street clothes except for the prayer until the Quran is restored. So let us pray the noon and come back. They're doing exactly the same thing. So this reminds me. I have heard about Shia literature that said this clearly. Maybe Parivesh knows that Ali said that the Quran that we have today is not the same that Muhammad wrote down. I think it's like this, along this line. I've heard it many times.
I was talking to
And of course, yeah, go ahead.
her father. She's also from the Shia background.
Yes.
And he was also saying that.
Right. I've heard it a lot, and of course, we dismiss this as Shia fanaticism or something, but it happens to be true. And to see it in Sunni literature, this confirms. This is why I'm using Sunni literature here, because it will. They cannot say, "Oh, this is Shia prejudice or Ali." They cannot say that. It's the truth.
Since you're talking about this topic, if I can ask, again comes back to Ali, and I think that is probably hadith that the Prophet Muhammad wanted him to take over after his death.
No. The Prophet didn't decide anything at all. They know God will decide everything. And the Quran set the principle already in Surah 42, where it says, Amruhum Surah Bainah, that their affairs are decided by consultation among them. And of course Ali was one of them, and Ali himself agreed that Abu Bakr would follow Muhammad, and Umar would follow Abu Bakr, and Uthman would follow Umar. Because the concept of Shura in Islam is the best political concept anywhere in the world. So let us say here in our group, we wanted to drink coffee. Let's say this is an important principle. We want to drink coffee now. So we said, okay, anybody wants to drink coffee, raise your hands. So 10 of us will raise our hands, and 4 will not. So then we convinced the 4. In other words, we will not force this idea on the 4, the minority. Like the political circumstances, the political systems here or anywhere else. We will talk to the 4 and say, if you have coffee now, then we will all sit down and we'll drink the coffee together, so there will be no disruption in a half hour when you want your coffee. And they say, but we really don't feel like it now, and we'll keep discussing it back and forth until they are convinced. Then unanimously we will all agree that we should have our coffee now. So this is the Islamic political system. Amruhum Surah Bainah. Maybe they are right, maybe they are a minority, they are 4, but maybe they are right. Maybe we should not have our coffee now. Then they will convince us, and we'll end up all of us agreeing that we will not have our coffee now. Maybe there's only one, a minority of 1, and maybe he or she is right. Then we discuss the matter with this one person until he or she convinces us, or we convince him or her. That's the political. So obviously Ali was in full agreement that Abu Bakr would be the first to follow the Prophet, and then Umar, and then Uthman. And but when Uthman violated the Quran, I don't know if Ali had anything to do with it or not, but Uthman was assassinated, as we're going to read on here.
So maybe they used this confrontation to introduce these two verses, right? And Ali rejected that.
Well, yeah, Ali would not go along. That's why they had war.
Yeah.
Now, in that case, there was no agreement. There was war. There was division. And this is something you will not compromise in. If you're only one, you'll be the one who's correct. If you all decided here to worship a statue, and one of us says, no, we're going to worship God alone, that person knows, and that person will be in the light, and there is no way you're going to convince him or her that we should worship the golden calf, for example. That person will never go along, and there'll be division, war.
But maybe that person cannot convince others.
That's what happened, right?
Well, still, he's right.
Yeah, still he's right, and there will be division, because there's no way he will not compromise. You will not compromise this belief under any circumstances. And this is why Ali gave his life, and Hussein and all his family. He gave their life for that, because there was no consensus, there was no unanimous agreement. And it's the kind of principle that you cannot fool around with. You know, the Quran is the word of God. We cannot play around with it. And this was firm in their minds. So let's read on. This will probably be explained a little later. We are the first generation. We are the first generation of Muslims who will have the true Quran, the pure Quran. So this is how important this historical event is. Now people wonder, and they say, which is not very intelligent on their part, because they didn't think about it. They wonder, why did God leave the Quran, not the true Quran, for 1400 years? Look at all those people. Okay, when you just take a paper and pencil and calculate the number of people, you realize that between now and the end of the world, the people who will have the true Quran are 15 times as many as the people from the beginning of the world, from Adam until now. 15 times as many. So really the majority of the people will have the true Quran. But people don't think of it this way. So it is estimated that by the end of the world, which is decided in the Quran as the year 2280, there will have been 75 billion human beings. And up until now, we had only 5 billion or 6 billion. Yeah. Between 5 and 6. So from now until the end of the world, there'll be 15 times as many people as all the people who existed from Adam, not from Muhammad. Yeah. So it is not the way they're imagining it. That's right. That's right.
All these ignorant people now, had they known about the truth of the Quran, they would have distorted and changed the Quran, and do a lot of things to it. They would find a way that we could never get it to where it is now, alhamdulillah.
So most of the people go to the Jannah?
I don't think so.
The believers go to?
Of course the believers go. But the majority of people are not believers.
So she's talking about the past.
Yeah.
Oh, almost all of them are going to hell. The past. The Quran says that. And, you see, initially, we agreed with Satan. Initially, we were bad to start with. The word Ilah, which is God with a small g. The word Rabb, which is... People say, how come all these people in the past did not have the true Quran? So I just want to remind you that it's a matter of statistics, that the number of people from Adam until now are only 1/15 of the number of people in the world from now until the end of the world. So the majority of the people on earth are going to have the true Quran because of the population. It's a very simple statistic. So the majority of the people on earth are to be born yet. 15 times. We have on earth right now 5 billion people. And from now until the end of the world, we're going to have 75 billion people. From the time of Adam until now, we had only about 6 billion people. No more than 6 billion people. This is from the time of Adam, not from the time of the Quran revelation.
It's a very powerful statistic.
Yes, and it's just as powerful as mathematics. So all of these are not anybody's opinions. You know, Mahmoud didn't come and say, in my opinion, if you add this and this, you have this number. It's a fact. These are all physical facts. We're not saying, in our opinion, these two verses don't belong there. The physical facts exclude these two verses.
But it's good that these two verses is in the Quran because it
Yes.
shows more the miracle.
There you go.
We have to thank from those that.
Yes. Exactly. We're going to issue a special thanks note to the falsifiers. You know, and then we tell them go to hell. Okay, Alvin, what can we say?
The overwhelming amount of physical, tangible evidence provided by the Almighty to protect and authenticate His message leaves no doubt whatsoever that no distortion of any kind can be done to the Quran. The verses 128, 129 do not belong in the Quran, and every element in the Quran is mathematically structured far beyond human capabilities. The number of surahs, the number of verses, the numbers assigned to the surahs and verses, the frequency of occurrence of key expressions, the number of words, the number of letters, and the unique and often uncommon spelling of certain words. Footnote 9:127 documents a profound miracle in its own right. Vast and utterly overwhelming as it is, it does not surpass or even equal to the overall mathematical miracle of the Quran, as detailed in Appendix 1. Even the Christians also.
Yes. For anybody who does not uphold the commandments of God.
Thus, when the Arabs
10 through 67 of the physical evidence were discovered by brothers Abdullah Arik and Mahmoud Ali Abib who Masjid Tucson. So when you read in the Quran that if you uphold the commandments, you're going to have perfect health, perfect wealth, perfect happiness, and your children will be in the hands of God, you know that this is a fact because it's mathematically coded, but it's from Malik al-Mulk. قل اللهم مالك الملك, say our God, possessor of all kingship, تؤتي الملك من تشاء وتنزع الملك ممن تشاء, you give kingship to anyone you will and remove it from anyone you will, وتعز من تشاء, you humiliate you give dignity to whomever you will, وتذل من تشاء, and humiliate whomever you will. God is the only one who provides dignity, health, wealth, anything. And when He says I'm going to give it to you when you uphold the commandments, you know it is true. Alhamdulillah. So let us read Al-Fatiha just to praise God, to say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen after this great miracle here. And then we'll pray the Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik Yawm al-Din. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. And while we're at this high point spiritually, alhamdulillah, God loves to see us pray to Him. So let us have a special prayer to Him for Zari's son, Zari Ibrahimi. So her son is, what's his name?
Navid.
Navid. And he's having some problem. He had a nervous God, and what God is saying, the word of God alone, nothing else. Yeah, Gog and Magog will appear in 22 in the year 1700, which is 2270. This is according to the Quran. 10 years, yeah, before the end of the world. They are the last sign before the end of the world.
What are they? What is God?
Well, God knows what the world will be like then. Probably two nations, or USA, USSR, maybe. Sounds like Gog and Magog. USA, USSR. Yeah, so that's a possibility. But it doesn't really matter because we will not be there. Our bodies will not be there. We will be there. Our bodies will not. So that's Gog and Magog. It's the last sign before the end of the world. In Surah 48, I think.
How many of them have happened so far? Just miracles? Just an mathematical code of the Quran?
No, all of them happened except the smoke and Gog and Magog. No, the moon is already split. You want to see a piece of the moon? I can come and show you a piece of the moon today. No, we can go. There's a place here called Flamborough Observatory, and they have a piece of the moon there. You can look at it. So the moon is up there, and a piece of the moon is here. This is splitting of the moon.
Okay.
Serious. Serious. Hmm? Yes, yes. All over the world, there are pieces of the moon. Right here we have it. Yeah.
That's what is the cutting of the moon, that pieces of the moon.
Look, one night of sleep. And the Quran gives us two examples of that. The fellow who died for 100 years, died for 100 years, and the pair of the kid who were put to sleep for 309 years. And when they got up, they said, we were here for one night. Both of them. They said, okay, let's send one of us with this money to buy us some food. So they got the money there and say, hey, this is George Washington. He's been dead for many years. The money didn't work. They laughed at them. I mean, it was so realistically that they were there for one night, that they went with this money. Imagine somebody with a George Washington dollar going to buy, to Circle K to buy some food. It also shows the world didn't change much in those days. They went for hundreds of years without any change. Yeah. But if you were dead for the last 200 years and you got up now, boy, are you going to be shocked? There's TV and cars and planes and submarines.
The last 10 years.
Really? VCRs, telephone. What is this? Yeah.
And in terms of the social, you're there, right? In terms of the social part of the worshipping of God alone, some of the things that believers used to practice during their Mohammedan involvements is this Akika. What is this? I mean, is this done, or how is the new baby?
Just it's a superstition.
It is a superstition.
What's the question? I didn't get that.
They practice something called the Aqiqah. Aqiqah? No, Aqiqah. They shave the baby's head and read the adhan in one ear, and they slaughter a sheep.
This is superstition.
Yes.
Jewish and Christian have
Yes, baptism and things like that.
I don't remember they doing it in Iran.
Yes.
Yeah.
My mother.
It's common in Iran and Pakistan especially. Pakistan and India.
My mother-in-law did it for all the children. Everything. It's very necessary. And the parents, they don't have to eat it from the yes.
So therefore, when a baby is born, I mean, it's just born, and you can be happy that it's born or whatever.
That's right.
There is no right for it.
Do anything you want as long as you don't think it's religion.
Yeah. Don't make it law.
Okay, don't make it law. Okay.
Yes. Right.
That's not.
There's so much junk that we inherited.
This is
We
part
want to clean it out.
This is part of the process. I find that there were so many little intricacies that we inculcated within our minds. And now with the worship of God alone, these things, they worm their way out, you know. And you are like, where did you come from? I don't remember you.
Right.
Where did I get you from? And here is something standing right in your face. And it's like, what do we do now, you know? And it's, Allah, please forgive us. And it makes us understand so clearly that we were idol worshipping as a Mohammedan. It really and truly does. And God's mercy upon us of having actually brought us out of this to this point. Because we didn't have to. I mean, the amount of things that we did against Allah, and Allah having brought us to this point, He is merciful. I mean,
And we are very lucky.
Serious atrocities.
We're very fortunate.
We are. Alhamdulillah.
And you are free now.
Yes,
Like,
this is real
you
freedom,
like
eh?
a slave?
Yes, well, we take it for granted that Mehdi led the prayer. There was not a name mentioned in the prayer except the name of God, our Creator. There was no shirk, which is, it's a commandment in the Quran. وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. It's so clear.
So clear.
I don't know why they resist that. Why mention Muhammad, Ibrahim, Ali, and Ali Muhammad, and Ali Ibrahim, and Hussein and Fatima, and in sujood they were doing this.
Yes, Allahumma salli ala.
In sujood, I was shocked, because the Shia group used to meet here, and I would pray with them, and I was making sujood, and the fellow next to me said, Hussein and Hassan and Ali. I said, my gosh, in sujood? This is when it kind of shocked me. So we're really blessed we take it for granted now that we do the prayer and there is no name except the name of God. God is the one who created you. God is the one who provides for you. God is the one who decides, controls your life. God is the one who resurrects you. God is the one who puts you in heaven or hell. I take it back. God is the one who puts you in heaven and we put ourselves in hell. But so why have anything to do with powerless creatures?
Yeah, in Iran, we had so many things to do in month Muharram. We had to wear the chador and cry for Hussein, Hassan, Ali. And if we didn't, we were not good person.
Yes, yes. And if you don't cry enough, you beat yourself until you cry. I mean, they had to die. Everybody died. They didn't die 1 second too early or 1 second too late. In fact, we should be happy for them because they were martyred. We know now that Ali and Hussein and their family died for the 2 verses of the Quran. These 2 verses to restore the Quran. That's really dying in the cause of God, huh?
The Iranian just heard
Yes, right. 1400 years behind.
I have a thing resurrected this body.
I think I told you this before.
Pardon?
I think I told you this before.
No, you said...
Okay, I want to tell you, don't forget it. It's the videotape. Not your... In other words, here's a thief stealing something. Okay? And this is, God is telling us this is recorded in videotape. So on the day of resurrection, he will deny that I stole anything. He says, I never stole anything. So they'll say, okay, play the tape. They'll play the tape and there's a picture of him stealing something in the video. So his hand is speaking. Without saying anything.
So it's not this body.
That's why God invented the VCRs. No, it's not this body. We will not have this body at all. We'll have a different body. But it's the videotape. In the Surah 17 it says everybody will have his videotape hanging in his neck. And it says you find out why you're in that position.
How about the fingerprint that we read? God Almighty says that I will make...
No, not I will.
Finger.
I can.
I can.
Not I will, I can. Yes. There's a difference there. بَلَا قَادِرِينَ عَلَى أَن نُسَوِّيَ بَنَانَ. قادرين means able. Or can. Not will. Yeah.
Rashad, Yusri, Quran says about to the people who have اونی که میگیره با اونی که میده
people who take usury.
Take, not the people who
give.
If you have to give it, it's not a sin.
You have to give it to the victim.
Okay, the victim is have a sin if no.
The victim. Yeah.
فقط اون کسی که
In usury, the definition of usury is there is a victim.
Yes.
Wherever there's a victim, there is a sin. Okay, this is the general law. If you think of all the sins, there's a victim. If there's no victim, generally, if there's no victim, there's no sin. So in usury, there's a victim, somebody taken advantage of. They arrest you and they say you can't leave this place unless you pay $1,000 bond. So I go to you, I say, I'll give you $1,000, but you pay me back $1,500 or $2,000. You say, yes, please, get me out of here. So I'm taking advantage of your misfortune, and you're forced to, because you don't want to go be captive. So there's a victim. But when you go put your money in the bank and they give you interest, the bank is happy, you're happy, and that is not usury. You take your money and they invest it and make more money and they give you part of it. That's what they're doing.
So all these CDs and all these things, what
You're
happens?
perfectly all right. There are some people who cannot, I realize this when I saw old people who they don't have the energy or the knowledge to go and invest their money in the market. So what they're doing, they give it to, put it in a CD, and the savings association or the bank, they go and invest the money. They have the energy, the employees, the knowledge, and they go invest the money and make $20 and give the guy $10 and keep 10 for themselves.
But the banks causing big news.
How?
How? Citibank
Yeah?
charges 20% interest on their Visa. I know a lot about this.
No, but you don't have to use your Visa card. You have to use your Visa card?
Do I have to? Some
Yes.
people do.
No, they don't.
Well, I mean, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to eat if you don't want to, but there are a lot of people that use these cards and get in a lot of trouble.
No, they abuse those cards. It's their, you know, I tell them, tear them up.
On the same line, we were discussing about like the situation in Iran, that right now, because a lot of people are desperate to get out or maybe do something, or maybe they're sick and come to the hospital, so they need dollars. And a lot of people, I think, take advantage. They have millions of dollars here, so they send $100 there to get hundreds of thousands of their money. I thought that if you're doing it for profit, if you have to go there and need to exchange, and then you give $100 to get $10,000, it might be okay. But if you're doing to make a profit of their misfortune, I thought it probably would be sinful.
Yes. Anytime you're taking advantage of a situation in an unfair manner, and the Quran talks about earning illicitly a lot.
Sure, there are people here who have dollars. They wait. Normally, the real is about 7 to man is $1. Now it's something like 100 or 150. So those people who have dollar here, they just send it there because they know eventually it's going to change. So that's, I think. But if like Aga wants to go in Iran, he needs the Iranian money, so it's okay to exchange it and then to whatever the market bears and get his money and go and get it.
Well, this is actually the value of the Iranian dinar, is it, or riyal? Riyal. In Egypt, the same thing. It's there's inflation in those countries, and their monies are not worth anything. That's probably the fair rate of exchange.
But they're basically people manipulating. A lot of people are
Sure.
manipulating, yes. Taking their advantage. I mean, if like even Faraday.
A very famous scholar with lots of books who died about 200 years ago. So I said, how did that happen? He said, my wife was very ill one time, and I was sitting next to her one time, and then all of a sudden she was speaking perfect Arabic. So I said, what is this, who are you? And she said, I'm Jamaluddin al-Afghani. He said, oh yeah? So he asked questions on religion. He said, okay, what is the meaning of Alif Lam Mim? And sure enough, this jinn of Jamaluddin al-Afghani told him his views of Alif Lam Mim, which are written in books anyway. So, in fact, he was giving a khutbah on this when I asked him about why did you say this. And he believed that Jamaluddin Afghani was, his soul was coming through his wife. And I told him, of course, the Quran says the soul is gone, and so this must be the jinn of Jamaluddin Afghani. So I went to ask, are you Jamaluddin Afghani or his jinn, his companion?
That's right.
And they usually tell the truth, they don't lie. And sure enough, he asked it, and they said, yeah, I'm his companion.
So when we die, what
So he was teaching him these khutbahs regularly. So like the artists that Mehdi is talking about, I believe it because of this scholar whose jinn came to the wife of, and here in Tempe, out of all places, Tempe, Arizona. It's a little suburb of Phoenix. And was teaching him exactly the same views as Jamaluddin Afghani, because your jinn is identical to you. Yeah, the other Azar Khan is just a good accountant as you are. So.
Same knowledge and all that.
Exactly, identical. Yeah, he knows your parents, your schoolmates, your accounting techniques, and managerial skills. Yeah.
He got a CPI.
Yes. And Shahrukh's jinn is probably a great singer.
You can blame him when you do something wrong.
But when we die, what happens to our jinn? They don't have anything to amuse themselves.
Oh, that's what you think.
They just, you know.
Are you kidding? They can travel throughout this universe at speeds much greater than the speed of light. I mean, they'll be silly to stick around this little planet Earth. Huh?
They don't have anybody to deceive, I mean.
They have themselves, and they deceive a lot of humans also.
Can they interfere with somebody else's gene?
Yeah. Yeah. They make a pact, you know. Because see, your jinn is trapped like you are in your body. Everything about the jinns is very clear in the Quran. It's very clear.
Actually, Quran is the only religious book that talks about other creatures besides God.
No, the Bible talks about them.
Angels?
No. Demons. That's in the Gospels. Point of view. You want to go in a corner and pray?
I mean, just a record or someplace.
Yeah. Okay. Let's put it in practical terms. Okay. Let's put it in practical terms. Where will you go?
I don't know. There's many little villages and towns throughout the world.
Okay. Just pick out a place.
Iran, with there's 10 people living in the city. And
all right. Let's go. You went to a village in Iran.
Take a room and then
okay. And you sat in this room. Fine.
And live for the rest of my life.
Very good. Okay, let's put it practically. Okay, let's pick out a village in Iran that has 100 people, and you found the room, right? You went in that room and you sat there at Fajr, and you read the Quran and you prayed the morning. Okay, then comes breakfast. How will you eat breakfast?
Well, you go out, buy a little bread and butter and sit down and
okay, you go out and buy some bread and butter, eat, and come back to the room, read the Quran and worship God, pray the noon, and then comes lunch.
Same thing.
Okay, then you run out of money. Then next 2 months later, you don't have any money, and you're sitting there worshiping in that room.
Well,
you become hungry.
Money, even if you don't have money, you can go dig a hole for somebody, just get a couple of dollars, and then go buy.
Oh, there you go. Now you're doing something. Hold it now.
Just basically to survive and
yes, absolutely, fine. Okay, so now you're out of money, right? Now you're out of money, and you are praying and reading Quran and sitting in your room, and you become hungry. So you decide to go and look to dig a ditch. So you go to somebody and say, "Do you have a job for me?" So yeah, you go dig this ditch here. So you dig the ditch. He gives you 10 riyals. Then you go buy some food, and you go back to your room. Okay, you did some work. You dug the ditch. How many hours? 3 hours?
Whatever.
Okay, and you got 10 riyals. The 10 riyals are barely enough for a meal. You spent your 10 riyals, got a meal, went back to your room, read Quran, and then you're hungry, dinner. Then what do you do?
But if you're only performing acts of worship, doesn't God promise that He will provide? You don't have to worry.
Yeah, but you see, God created a system, because that guy out there needs a ditch to be dug. God created the system for the world to go on. So who's going to dig that ditch? I mean, God wrote in the Quran, He said He created you in different grades. In other words, if everybody's a millionaire, $10 million, everybody has $1 million, everybody on earth has $10 million, and your faucet breaks, your toilet breaks down, now who's going to fix it? You're going to go to a guy with $10 million and come and fix my toilet?
What's happening in Saudi Arabia? They can't fix it.
Right. So they import Egyptians.
No, what I'm saying, you understand what I'm saying.
I understand what I'm saying perfectly.
Yeah, basically, if let's say you have enough to retire, you don't need any work.
Yes.
But as far as God is concerned, is it okay to just go retire somewhere, devote your life to pray?
What do you think I'm doing?
What? No, you're not doing it. You could do it with a lot more peace and quiet and more
Yes.
devotion to whatever you're doing without all
Well, I try until lovely people like yourself come and visit me. But believe me, this is worship. I'd love to be with the computer by myself, you know, but now when I have preference, I prefer to be with you guys. So, but this is worship. I mean, what we're doing here is worshiping God.
So it's not
Because you're not getting paid.
it's not just sujood and this.
No. Worship by no means, no.
That's what I want to get. Because worship
Right.
is paying charity, worship working for the helping other people, worship
Yes.
is
Yes.
this is what I
Absolutely.
want.
Yes. What we're doing now is we're worshiping God. You know, Shahrukh is not getting paid. You're not getting paid. Nobody here is getting paid.
I don't tell how much you're paying.
We're just sitting here. In fact, you're spending money. These ladies are taking it to the shopping center. You know, every other hour. No, the truth is we are getting paid. You know, God is paying us health and wealth and peace of mind and a lot of happiness. So. But you see, these theoretical principles of go sit somewhere and worship, it doesn't work. As you see, if you put it in practical terms, you yourself went out digging a ditch for somebody. Okay, back to Azhar. Important because now the question is, if the Quran in existence were identical to the Quran that the Prophet wrote with his hand, why will he need to destroy it? Yeah, so obviously it was different. And since he burned the Quran that was written by the Prophet, then the Quran that we have, that came to us, are the wrong ones. We have these two verses.
I have a question. When they added the two verses, okay, did they put it on the same one that the Prophet wrote, or did they just rewrite?
No, they wrote. They were making copies from the prophets. Yeah.
The question an intelligent person might ask is, if the original Quran of Muhammad was identical to the Quran in circulation, why did Marwan ibn al-Hakam destroy it? Upon examining the oldest Islamic references, we realize that the false injections 9:128, 129 were always suspect. For example, we read in Bukhari's Hadith al-Suyuti Iskar that every single verse in Quran was verified by a multiplicity of witnesses except verse 128 and 129 of Surah 9. They were found with only Quzmaya ibn Thabit al-Ansari. When some people questioned this improper exception, someone came up with the hadith claiming that the testimony of Huzaima equals the testimony of two men. In other words, there was only one witness.
Right.
And that is against the Quranic...
Again, the principle that Abu Bakr and Umar established for writing the Quran down, which was at least two witnesses. According to them, and it's all nonsense, but this is according to them.
Put themselves in the trap.
Yeah, the fact is the Quran was there that the Prophet wrote himself. So there was no need to collect it from anybody or look for it or have witnesses, nothing. The Quran was there and was the Prophet's wife, Hafsa. So, but I'm going along with what they said. God made them say that.
Because I was telling one of my group that the reason that these two verses is false. And when I came to this point, the hadith of Bukhari, and they attacked me and said, you say you don't have the hadith,
right?
You don't believe the hadith. Why you put it this?
Yeah, because they believe it. Because they believe in it.
For them. Oh, this is for them. Okay, good.
It's using their own material.
Yeah, and I didn't know, but I said we have a lot of proof. It's not this. This is the proof of us. The two verses. This is only this.
Because when a Christian comes, you don't get the Veda out and tell him the Veda says this and that, because he doesn't give a damn about the Veda. But you get the Bible.
We have to say, if you believe hadith, this is hadith.
Yeah. No, we talk about history. We say Dwight D. Eisenhower was the president of the United States in 1952. This doesn't mean this is a fact. of history. You know, we don't use it for religious.
Tarikh.
Our proof is basically the mathematics.
Yes. But this is using their own argument. That's why I'm saying it's all nonsense. This is all nonsense. They made this up. So I'm using their own historical references.
Strangely, the false injections 128 and 129 are labeled in traditional Qurans as Meccan. The problem is, how could these Meccan verses be found with Khuzaima, a Medina Muslim? Despite these discrepancies, plus many more glaring contradictions associated with the two false verses, no one ever dared to question their authenticity. And was that for political reasons or?
Well, look at the storm that is against me now. I can show you pages upon pages, full pages of attacking me because of these two verses. So they just didn't have the courage, and they didn't have the proof. See? It's not that I'm courageous, but we have the proof right now. This comes in the next paragraphs.
The discovery of the Quran's mathematics.
And well, let me go to an extreme. Let's go rob this bank or something, and I'll give you half of the loot. Or let's go to this nightclub, and if you don't tell my wife, I will not tell your wife. So it's kind of a bribing. I don't know how to explain it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Bribing, in other words, wrapping the falsehood in something that's good. So that's not a good example.
No, I want to say something else. Maybe this is worshipping God, but the reality is this is not from Quran. This is something extra. However,
exactly, yeah.
Praising God, but it's not real. It's falsehood.
God doesn't want it,
it's
as
like,
you will see here.
I say something good about God, and they put that in the Quran.
Right.
This is not right.
Or maybe when I want to tell you something like lie about, for example, Allah.
Yes.
I say something true.
Yes.
That you believe that, yeah, I know this.
Exactly.
And the second one is true.
And then you put the lie in between.
Yes, between.
There it is. Right.
Yeah.
God bless you. Yes. I was looking for that.
How did that mechanism work? That you put, how did you put it?
Pardon? What's your question?
That you put a
Wrapping truth in a
Wrapping.
wrapping truth in a false.
Yeah, wrapping.
You say some of it is right, that is correct, but you add
In fact, this is the Quran has a commandment against it. It says, وَلَا تَلْبِسُوا الْحَقَّ بِالْبَاطِلِ. Do not confound the truth with falsehood. تَلْبِسُوا الْحَقَّ بِالْبَاطِلِ means do not dress the lie with the truth.
Exactly, Allah.
Yeah. تلبسوا is libas. You
In
have
other
this in
words, the
Farsi?
half-truth is done, right? The
Yeah.
half-truth.
You have libas in Farsi?
Yes.
Okay. لا تلبسوا الحق بالباطل. So a messenger has come to you who is fantastic, is false, and then is a batil, and God, there is no God except He is truth. So they wrap this in that.
Yeah, this is, yeah.
Yes. This is the name of God. بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم is used in the Quran exclusively for God.
So this, you found this after you, this Quran was printed, the translation.
Yes.
And when was that? About 2 or 3 years ago? Or?
I told you what year was that? As soon as I came back from Egypt, she's the memory of the group. السنة كام? 84. Yeah, it was 1984. I came back from Egypt. What happened was we formed a committee, and we sat to count the word God in the Quran one by one, page by page. And in the end, we found one extra, 2699. So right there and then, I stood up and I said, "This means the two verses." That was the one piece of evidence I needed finally to say that the two verses are false. They wanted to kill me right there and then. So I came back and I announced it. That's right, because it came out in the March 1985 issue, the Muslim Perspective.
Yes, I think I remember that.
Yeah, March 85. So that's when it happened.
Should we continue?
The word God from the beginning of the Quran to the end of Surah 9.
To the end of Surah 9.
Yes. So what?
215 is